he or she is the best football expert on the planet.
I'm just playing for pride now. And my pride's gone.
We're very passionate people here.
Well, hello.
We're ready to come for the W, yeah?
These girls will smoke you, man.
Yeah. Hello again and welcome to the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough, the weekly gaming news show full of the hottest takes and the spiciest gossip. Or is that the other way around? I don't know. We'll find out today. We've got some amazing topics to talk about today. The Last of Us on PC is a mess. What? We'll also be talking about E3 being cancelled, potentially forever, and what that means for the gaming industry. We'll also talk about the potential Steam Deck competitor by Asus, which is spicy. Also talking about the PlayStation Showcase, potentially coming soon, according to some reliable leakers. And then we might even get onto the fact that Nintendo are offering to repair their Joy-Cons for free out of warranty, which is very un-Nintendo. But we can talk about that a little bit later on. I'm delighted to be joined today, once again, by my esteemed colleague and Game Pass subscriber, Aaron Potter. Aaron, how are you doing today? You okay?
And then there were two. I'm doing
Yes.
good, Nathan. I'm happy here to
Good.
fly the Game Pass flag, the PlayStation Plus flag, whatever flag I'm required to rant about that week. But it's my pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
Good to know. Thank you very much for joining me today. We've got some really great topics. I know you've got some stuff you've got to get to this afternoon. So we have got a 5 o'clock-ish deadline. So we're not going to be a bumper show, but it's going to be packed full of interesting stories.
You're not going to know what hit you in terms of how fast we're going to get through these stories. So comment while you can, people. Yeah.
We're going to get through it fast, but also going to cover it extensively as well at the same time. Thank you everyone for watching. If you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, on TikTok even. Thank you so much for watching. Please just drop a like and subscribe if you like this video, or maybe afterwards. Obviously, once you've watched it, if you decided you liked it, let us know as well. And if you put a message in the chat, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll read out if you've got any questions or you've got opinions on what we're talking about. We'd love to hear from you, and we can debate them on the show as well. But let's get stuck in to our first topic. The Last of Us Part 1 on PC is a mess. What a week it's been for The Last of Us Part 1 port on PC. Players are reporting countless instances of crashes, issues with maxing out RAM, general lack of polish. There's been 3 updates, I believe, so far, including one today, which is the latest one, which aims to stop crashes. Although, if you look on Reddit, it seems like it hasn't actually fixed the issue, and people are still getting crashes. When Matt Aldous, our producer, a gaming creator producer, streamed The Last of Us last week, he crashed 6 times in 6 hours. And you can watch that stream on our YouTube channel. If you go to our live tab, you can watch that stream. It was amazing, but he did crash a number of times, just showcasing some of the issues they've have had with the game. I've seen some hilarious bugs, I've got to say. I've seen like a Spider-Man. Did you put it in our Slack? I think there's like a Spider-Man upside down. Ellie's upside down spinning like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know if it had anything to do with Spider-Man, but I don't know. Like she did sort of look like that. She was like just rotating in midair as Joel and Tess were trying to have like this super serious conversation. That's my favorite tweet I've seen all week. It's amazing.
I've seen them like dripping with water as they're in a cutscene. Have you not seen that one?
No, I've not seen that.
No.
They're just like dripping. Oh.
They're in the middle of a cutscene and the water is just running down their face. It's hilarious. Some of the obviously the best bugs that we like. So we just love those kind of little things. But
drop them in the chat. All the best bugs.
Yeah, if you've seen a bug, please let us know. We've definitely seen our fair share. But yeah, I mean, for people who've obviously bought the game for, I think it's $49.99 on PC. It's a lot of money to spend on a game that is broken, and I think the latest is that it looks like Steam, which normally have a cutoff where if you played the game for no longer than 2 hours and it's 2 weeks since you bought the game, Steam will normally refund you, no questions asked. But it seems like Steam is refunding people regardless of how long they played it for, which kind of shows that they've messed the port up a little bit, which is interesting.
A little bit.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's really interesting, isn't it? And I think it's interesting we need to explain the difference between a PC port and a remake, because obviously we've been talking a lot about Resident Evil 4, the remake from the original. Would you mind just explaining to our viewers the difference between that and, for example, like a port like the Last of Us PC Part 1 for PC?
Yeah. So this is like a constant debate I get asked about often, but it constantly comes up, which is what is the difference between like a remake, a remaster, and a reimagining? And then you can obviously throw like just a port in there for all intents and purposes. In the case of The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, it becomes a little more hazy because you're getting it's essentially two things. So Naughty Dog have remade The Last of Us entirely from the ground up. Admittedly, they're using the same motion capture assets and voiceover assets because they want to keep the same performances and stuff like that. But for all intents and purposes, this is the game remade as new for PlayStation 5. So then after the game's been remade, they're porting it from from the PlayStation 5 version to the PC version. So essentially, it's kind of like an amalgamation of the two almost. But whereas Resident Evil 4 Remake would have been developed with PC in mind alongside these, current gen console ports, or even though it's also on PS4, I believe, Resident Evil 4 Remake, then it's a case of the two things happening at once, and that The Last of Us PC Part 1 is kind of caught in the middle. And I'm kind of wondering, because we've had previous PlayStation ports of PlayStation games already that have come to Steam with pretty good degrees of quality, I'd say. We've had Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and Days Gone, I believe, are the main three. And in all those cases, I don't think a port has come in anywhere near as hot as The Last of Us Part 1 has. And it's very suspect because the amount of glitches and sort of problems we're seeing, there's no way that Naughty Dog or Iron Galaxy, who is also credited as handling this port, they previously worked on the Uncharted 4, I can't remember what the subtitle was called that game, the Uncharted 4 PC port. They would have known that the exact state this was, and obviously they delayed the game last month because it was originally meant to come out on PC alongside the HBO adaptations. They missed that window, hopefully trying to polish it up. But it's just a case where it came in too hot. They would have known what exactly was happening, and that they've hoped to patch it in the meantime. And to their credit, that they've moved pretty quickly. But if you're £50 down, not being able to play a game, that's a bit of a problem. And then you've got the Steam Deck aspect of this, which is a whole other debate entirely, because no longer is it enough for developers to just develop a PC SKU now. They don't have to make sure that it's verified, but in a lot of cases, the Steam Deck's pretty hot right now. It's a case that I believe that this is registered as verified, but good luck getting the thing running, because by the time it's done compiling shaders, I've heard some real horror stories that it can take an hour or an hour and a half to, by the time you hit the opening cutscene on Steam Deck. So yeah, it's just a horror show all around, really, Nathan.
Yeah, it just feels like a big open goal that they've missed. I feel like we roll out a lot of football sayings in this podcast.
Yeah, football analogies.
But it feels like it is a little bit of an open goal they've missed. The success of the TV show, you feel that if that would have come out at the same time the TV show was on, as originally planned, if it didn't have any bugs, imagine the reception that would have got, and the amount of people that would have been able to play the game and enjoy it alongside the TV show. I feel like that was just a great opportunity that they've just kind of missed. And obviously, I don't know what goes in. I'm not an expert in games development, and I understand that it could be a difficult thing to do a PC port of a game that's only available on console. But I think they've had enough time to sort it out. I just, maybe not. If anyone knows games development in the comments, they can tell me otherwise. Please let me know. But it does feel like they've had enough they would have known about the HBO show far in advance of the port beat, and you'd have thought they'd have worked on it at the same time.
Well, it's a case of like thinking about that delay we had. I think it was it February or March, because it was originally meant to come out a couple of weeks sooner. The more that we know about the Last of Us PC issues now, the more I'm thinking that they knew the problems they were having with this port, and they purposely delayed it because they didn't want to corrupt people's perspective of the TV show, which most people have obviously universally agreed is excellent. So I don't think it's a coincidence that originally the plan would have been to release the game and the show at the same time. They looked at the game, said we can't do this because one's going to poorly affect the other, and now we're in a situation where they had an extra month or so to polish it. It hasn't worked, so they're rushing now to try and get the get the thing running. But if all else fails, at least we're going to get some funny memes out of it, I guess.
That's true. Yeah, I wish I might pull some up if we've got time a bit later on the show. It's a little bit of a treat if people want to stick around for the end of the show while you're inevitably ranting about Game Pass at some point. I'll
it's going to happen.
to go on to Google and do a quick search. But Scott's in the chat. Hi Scott, thanks for joining us. They have mouse issues that were in Uncharted on PC. You would have think they would have dealt with that for this. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but who's playing Uncharted with mouse and keyboard? Who's playing The Last of Us mouse and keyboard? Like
Scott.
I can't. Scott, apparently, I don't know. I mean, this is a man who plays Fortnite on Switch, so I don't know how much of his opinion we can take as sound, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, when Matt streamed the game, he played it on controller for a little bit, but then it turned out that he couldn't fire his shotgun.
Yeah, that was
for
weird,
some reason,
wasn't it? Because
which
it's the
is a weird
same
thing.
input as the regular handgun, like I thought.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So he switched to keyboard and mouse, and it worked. So
Yeah.
maybe that was a Last of Us thing rather than a Matt thing. I went straight away with Matt and his key bindings. Maybe he's
right.
he's got it wrong somewhere. We know all about that.
Poor Matt.
Exactly. Poor Matt. Matt, if you're watching, hi and please leave us a comment. I'd love to hear what you thought about Last.
But we
of Us
did
as
get
well.
to see a fridge during his playthrough, which I was pleased about. It might not have been in working
Absolutely.
order, but there's confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite part of the stream, and please, it's on our live little hub thing on our channel. Go and have a look at it. The Last of Us playthrough. There was a bit where he's going through the traps that have been laid out for him. I've just forgot the character's name. Bill has put some traps out to obviously stop the clickers and stuff getting in. And there's a specific tripwire over a door, and Matt just walks straight through it, and obviously, perishes due to the trap. And he said, "Is this meant to happen?" And I just thought, yeah, in the TV show, I remember that exact bit happening. But no, it's quite funny. Maybe it had to be there. That didn't land as well as I thought. Let's swap topics.
Swap topics, yeah. I don't know. Well, the long and short of it is that The Last of Us PC Part 1 doesn't bode well for other PlayStation ports, I guess, going forward. Because this is their prestige game, Nathan. Like, whenever people say, "Oh, why should I buy a PlayStation?" It's usually, The Last of Us is one of the best stories in gaming. So I can't quite believe that it's got to this point, to be honest. Yeah.
And the multiplayer game's coming out soon. Does that... Well, not soon, but they've said it's coming.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel less confident about how that's being handled, do you think?
Not about the PS5 version, which is how I'll be playing it.
That's true.
But then you raise a good point, because I think, PC, that is where the multiplayer scene thrives, right? So that if they want this Last of Us Factions live service platform, and I do suspect we'll probably see it before the end of the year, then they're going to want to launch day and date on PS5 and Steam with crossplay. But the thing that gives me confidence is that PlayStation have been on a bit of a mini hiring spree, purposely hiring developers who specialize in PC ports. So they're working with Iron Galaxy for this. It worked out pretty okay for Uncharted 4. I believe there's other studios like Nixis, which they've hired specifically just to get their PlayStation games running on PC. But with this being a case, that Last of Us game will be the first time, I believe, where a PlayStation game has launched day and date on PC and PlayStation. If indeed it does launch day and date. They might prove me wrong with that. So that might be a chance to entice people back and say, look, The Last of Us, it's high quality. We learned our lessons and get everybody back on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam's in the chat. Hi, Adam. Thanks for joining us again. I struggled to watch The Last of Us stream because he kept running past loot and ammo.
You should have been in the chat, just like, there you missed it. But then, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Matt obviously isn't a huge gamer, and as I don't know if you have this as well, but whenever you were in a game, it's kind of second nature to just look for loot and little kind of boxes and little chests every here and there. I don't think Matt's got that kind of muscle memory yet from that, but.
So I know with The Last of Us Part 2, but they're like Naughty Dog, they're really good with accessibility options. And rather than having to hoover up everything yourself, like looking through drawers, there's this crazy mode where in The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie's arms will just automatically like go to where their stuff is. It's quite funny to watch. And I'd be shocked I haven't checked if it's not in the first one as well. So basically that would resolve Matt's issue where he walks into a room and as long as he like rubs himself across like the perimeter of the room, he's pocketing all ammo under the sun. So that would be my advice to Matt if he's watching.
if you're watching, Matt, take that advice on board. I think obviously you mentioned Steam Deck there as well. I think the response has been from Neil Druckmann is that they're not focusing so much on getting its Steam Deck verified at the moment. They're more focused on sorting the PC version out and making it run rather than the Steam Deck version at the moment. So if you've got a Steam Deck and you want to play The Last of Us, might be a while until you
twice.
Get a decent. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, on the Steam Deck, we will go on to our next topic.
Segue.
Which is that. Absolutely. Asus ROG has announced a new handheld gaming PC, which is called the Ally. Early indications suggest that it could compete with the Steam Deck if it's powerful and cheap enough. So they actually launched this on April Fool's Day, April the 1st. Because if you think of the name Ally.
Right, I see.
So that was the joke.
So their marketing team needs a word with themselves, really.
Yeah,
any other day, guys. Any other day. Come on.
Absolutely. So it obviously launched on April. They announced it on April the 1st, which is a great day to launch anything, I suppose. But then a couple of days later, they were like, no, this is real, genuinely. And we've seen content creators like Linus Tech Tips, for example. He's done like a little showcase of it, and basically the claims from Asus is that it's double the performance of the Steam Deck. It's got 120 hertz refresh rate display, which is double the amount of the Steam Deck. 1080p resolution, which is clearer than the Steam Deck, because it's only a 1200 by 1800 display on the Steam Deck, so it's more akin to 720p. And the cooling, they said, is a lot better and it's a lot quieter and things. So it's got a lot to live up to, really, in terms of the specifications. We don't know the exact specifications of CPU, GPU. We don't know the price. We don't know anything. We've just seen the prototype as it is right now. I think the thing to talk about, I think, with this is it's going to be very difficult. Connor's just touched on it. Thanks so much, Connor, for going in the comments. Isn't the Steam Deck sold at a loss? Well, that's the thing. Valve's Steam Deck pricing is incredibly aggressive. Incredibly
generous.
Because, generous. You could call it whatever you like, but it's aggressive and generous at the same time. But that's because they own Steam.
Yeah,
isn't it? So the more people that get a Steam Deck, the more games they're buying, the more money they generate, so they can kind of afford to. If you think of the 256 gig model, you're looking at about 450 quid for the Steam Deck, which is, pricing wise, it's ridiculous.
Bargain.
Ridiculous. For this, if you're talking about double the performance, if you're talking about all these kind of things, double the performance, double the cooling, all that kind of stuff, how much is this thing going to be? And is it going to be a real competitor to the Steam Deck? Because Asus ROG, I don't think they can afford to price it at that level. Even if it has got better specs, obviously we do expect a little bit in performance. But to be a genuine competitor for the Steam Deck, and why the Steam Deck is such a big deal in the handheld PC community, is because of that aggressive pricing. It makes it a genuine alternative to a PC or to a console. Where do you stand on this new handheld gaming PC? Could it be a competitor, do you think?
Well, as someone who loves his Steam Deck and Nintendo Switch before that, like, I'm really big into my handheld gaming. And anyone who's bought one of these things, obviously you've been playing Elden quite a lot on your Steam Deck, Nathan. I imagine you get 20 minutes running that thing. But I caught him mid-drink there as well. That was a risk.
I know. Nearly got coffee all over me live.
Sorry, mate. No, so basically, I think it's always good to have competition, right? This is kind of what I'm always saying. Like, market competition is important, and I feel like Valve has had a really good year there, proving to people that they can get a portable gaming PC working of a good standard. But even, like, as much as I love the Steam Deck, as much as it's comfortable to hold, it definitely has that sort of, okay, this is a first iteration of a piece of hardware, definitely. Like, you know, the buttons, they won't probably give the best feedback. The plastic around feels a little bit cheap. And like you were alluding to earlier, like, it can get hot when playing certain games. The cooling's not the best, and it can get loud as a result of that as well. Yes. But it's interesting because I like that you call it Asus because I've been saying it Asus in my head. So, but I'll continue calling it Asus, and we can have this cool like tennis match between pronouncing it.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
But you make a good point about the reason that the Steam Deck is so cheap is because Valve sells it at a loss so they can make their money back on software, and that's exactly what PlayStation and even Xbox does. Potentially, I'm not quite sure about Nintendo. Nintendo might sell their hardware because obviously it's a lot lower spec at a small profit. But this is how things tend to go. And but the thing that interests me about the real competitive advantage that the Asus Ally would have over the Steam Deck is obviously we know that it's going to be running on Windows 11 as opposed to a proprietary version of Linux, which is what Steam Deck uses in terms of get gaming mode. And obviously the benefits of Windows 11 is that you can run the Steam store, but also you can run the Epic Game Store and also Xbox Game Pass as well. So I think if Asus pitched this right, the fact that it's technically third party as opposed to, and there's the tweet we're seeing there, a trailer of it, I think that should be the main appeal factor. So even if it's priced slightly higher than the Steam Deck, and obviously we're a year out from when the Steam Deck released now, so you have to imagine that Valve's costs have come down a little bit. Asus are probably looking at the tech specs of it and go, okay, I feel like, you know, the technology's moved on far enough where we can now enter the market and at least compete. So I imagine that's their thinking. And as someone who uses their Steam Deck, I'm kind of well aware that the Epic Game Store is probably never going to come to it, which is a shame because I have access to a lot of games on the Epic Game Store. And obviously you can do that through different Proton plugins and EmuDeck and stuff. But if you're someone who doesn't like to tweak, then yeah, I think that should be how they pitch this thing.
Yeah, I meif you look it's a lovely bit of kit.
And if you look at the RGB lighting, that just makes you play better as well. So they've done hit the nail on the head.
If you've got a racing game, it makes you go faster, doesn't it? What I found really interesting, if you see on here where you actually hold the device, it's actually kind of curved down. So if you were to hold it as like normal, it feels very uncomfortable. This is all from the Linus Tech Tips video, which you can go and check out if you want, where he's got like a hands-on version. He says it's really uncomfortable if you just hold it normally, but if you put it on a desk, or you put it on somewhere where you're not holding it straight, you're actually holding it like that, because that's how you play the game. You don't hold it like that, do you?
Yeah, straight up.
You hold it like that. As soon as you do that with it, that makes it so much more comfortable than the Steam Deck, because you've got a better grip on the device or something. So they've really thought this through. I love the disclaimer, not an April Fool's joke as well. At the bottom here as well.
Why is it called like the Ally though? Like they could have picked any other name and not announced it on April Fool's Day. There's so many, again, open goals scored.
Hashtag play Ali or games. They wouldn't get that to work, would they? Play all your games.
Is that what it's meant to be?
Yeah, that's what it's meant. Yeah.
But you can't play all your games though, because you can't play Switch games on the thing. Last time I checked. Oh. Now you get all the PC hackers telling me, well, actually,
yeah. Well, Connor's in the chat as well. He says 699 bet 699. Let's say it does offer
how many
double
gigs
the
is that?
Performance of the Steam Deck. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Right? Say it's double the performance of a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
What's your decision there? 699, double the performance, same capacity. Are you going for it over the Steam Deck? Imagine
like I said,
you haven't got it.
Imagine if I haven't got what, the Steam Deck.
A Steam Deck,
I see what you mean. I'd have to at least consider it. Again, if that's let's say 500 gigs of memory, I think that's pretty generous for 699 with the improved resolution. Because the other thing we haven't discussed and the thing we don't know anything about is that battery life is a real sucker on the Steam Deck, isn't it? And for portable gaming, I feel like whenever I play my Steam Deck, I'm charging it up like at least twice per day. Like God knows what's going on to my my energy bill there. But and then the other point where I'm slightly disappointed about, but I still understand it, is that it's still it's not an OLED screen. And every time I go from my Switch OLED to a Steam Deck, I always feel the difference. But in terms of, so that would have been another way potentially that they could have like improved it, but then the price starts getting ridiculous. I understand. So
it is brighter, significantly brighter, and another 100 nits on the display, double the refresh rate as well, which will make a difference with in game and stuff.
You've got me worried though about the comfort factor, like But that was a prototype that Linus had in his video, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously it could change. Yeah, I'll stop sharing that. Just you've seen enough of that now, because you want to see us, don't you?
Hey.
I think the thing about what's really exciting to me is that I love the fact that the Steam Deck has made people think about doing this potentially, and obviously we've heard the rumors today about PlayStation potentially looking at their handheld device as well. Potentially, PS Vita 2 might be coming soon. I think everyone's looked at the Steam Deck and thought, you know what, that is the future. And I think just because obviously I've got a Steam Deck as well, and being able to play a AAA game like Elden Ring on a train, or not even just when you're traveling, or just pick it up when you've got a spare 5 minutes, or I mean, Elden Ring, you can't just play for 5 minutes, but you know what I mean? If there's a specific boss that I want to beat in 10 minutes, I'll just pick it up. And like the fact that you can do that in this day and age, to me, that's a huge step forward for the whole gaming industry. The fact that you have the power to do that. And obviously, I know the Nintendo Switch, you've been able to do that with Zelda games and other games as well. But this feels like a big step forward for gaming overall. And I feel like it's just exciting to see all these other manufacturers get involved in it, and what could be the future. But well, I mean, do you think like a Steam Deck style device is the future of gaming? Do you think that's where the industry is going?
I think that obviously the Steam Deck, I think, has done a large part in proving that you can get proper HD games running, modern releases in a portable format. But then again, the battery life is the main thing. I think it's just the Nintendo Switch has been far more influential, because basically no Nintendo Switch, no Steam Deck, because the Nintendo Switch has proven that players like nothing more than flexibility and choice, and the Nintendo Switch gives you that by letting you play either on your TV screen or in handheld mode. And I feel like, all these companies that are just releasing handheld only devices like Asus or Asus, however you want to say it, I don't think they've mentioned anything with regards to docking. But then with a PC centric device, I don't think it's as big an issue, right? Because all you need is like a HDMI lead, and then all of a sudden you're up on a monitor. So whereas Nintendo Switch to the console audience gave people that choice, and I've heard from people who have a Steam Deck and they have the Steam Deck dock, is that there's so many issues in terms of ease of use, in terms of switching it between docked mode and like handheld mode. So many times that if something goes wrong on the Steam Deck, you can't control it remotely. You'll have to get up and then like reset it, get back down. And I know we live what privileged lives we lead, right? The fact that we've got to get up and stuff. This is my argument with like Blu-ray discs. People are like, yeah, would you really want to put a Blu-ray disc in? I'm like, well, it's not that tough, guys. Yeah, I think we're reaching that point now where people have looked at the Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo are clearly working on whatever their successor is to the Nintendo Switch. That's gonna be, it has to be minimum running early PS5 games, late PS4 games, I would imagine, in terms of spec. And Steam Deck have tried to capitalize on the market just ahead of time, but they're not. They obviously haven't got the tentpole games to do so, and neither is Asus. The advantage Asus has is that not being locked into one ecosystem. But PlayStation, I mean, we were just talking about Last of Us PC right now. If they were to release a dedicated handheld designed for PlayStation games specifically, I imagine things like that would be less of an issue. So as someone who had the PSP and the PlayStation Vita after it, I'm always going to welcome PlayStation entering the handheld market, because I think it's a much more affluent one than what they're doing with VR right now. Chase that dragon as opposed to VR. So
that's true. Colin's back in the chat as well. It says OEM's best bet will be streaming devices. Salzar, and I think they're talking about with the PS Vita 2, it will be a streaming device. The latest rumors are that you'll be able to stream your games from your PS5. But
you can do that now. You can do it now. You can stream PS5 games to your phone. So and this was the argument when I think it was Logitech. They wanted to bring out a handheld that was Steam Deck-esque, but it was totally streaming. So it's like, well, why am I paying for a device at all then? If it's not running things natively. And I feel like these hardware companies need to ride that fine line, because anyone could put a bit of plastic with a screen on it. There are all these weird companies now that let you emulate up to the Nintendo 64 quality, and they're cheap as chips, and they bring them out like every other month. So, I don't know. Streaming.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you spoke with Connor about this before, but the fact that it says Soz Aaron, he picked up on that before I did. I didn't
I know.
that was a.
I think Connor might have been in the Resi 4 stream. But I don't know if it came up there.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. Question: where are
Yes.
Microsoft in this conversation?
Well, they don't need it because they've got the Xbox app for the Game Pass app on Android. So you literally just stream your Xbox games through that portal there. So if PlayStation were to do it, it'd be far more cost effective than for them to develop a PlayStation streaming app where people that subscribe to PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium, they can stream their games to their phone remotely that way. Yeah.
What if people don't want to do that? What about if they want a dedicated handheld with games running natively on the?
I mean, I'd want that. But Connor and all the rumors are suggesting otherwise. So that's the thing. Like, if you're going to put out a handheld device, it has to run these things natively, because otherwise you're going to have to you're going to deal with lag and like connection interruption issues and stuff. I see the appeal of streaming, because you don't have to wait for the download, but it'll be a cold day in hell when I can have as smooth and experienced streaming a game as I can playing it natively. Yeah.
Well, look at Google Stadia. Google promised this low latency streaming experience, and no one wanted to play it, as far as I could tell, which is why they binned it off. They brought out specific controllers. They had to refund everyone.
The Founders Pack, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tough one. I think, a PlayStation might gamble and just go for the easy option, potentially, which is this streaming device. But is that the right one long term? I don't know. We'll have to find
I'll answer that. No. There you go.
No. Adam is in the chat. I think, is this in response to me talking about Microsoft? Because he says, hopefully leaving the gaming industry.
Well, I don't think there's any chance of that happening, Adam, judging by all the money they've been throwing around. So
yeah, Adam, I don't know if you've been keeping in touch with our recent podcast, but they've just splashed $68.7 billion.
He knows.
On Activision. He knows. On Activision Blizzard, that obviously hasn't gone through yet. But yeah, I think they're very much here to stay in the gaming industry. But yeah, I love my Steam Deck, and I think Valve have come out and said that Steam Deck 2 is quite a while away, which makes sense because they just want to give people this initial experience and then take all the feedback on and then launch something that can really, I'm just so excited to see where it can go, because having being able to pick up a AAA game like Elden Ring for 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, as and when.
It's a good way to keep your hands warm. It's a good way to keep your hands warm.
On a cold day, boot up Elden Ring on your Steam Deck and your car will defrost within seconds. Absolutely.
Just like rest your Steam Deck in the middle of your windshield and then just let it run Elden Ring. Defrost it instantly.
Absolutely. Quite a cheap way of doing it, actually. I might actually try that. All jokes aside.
I mean, we'll get the TikTok up if you do. That'd be good.
Absolutely. Let's go. I'll be talking of Sony and PlayStation. Let's segue to our next topic.
We're rolling through today.
I know. Look at this. Journalist and reliable leaker Jeff Grubb took to Twitter to reveal PlayStation will be hosting its own digital showcase event. According to Grubb, it will take place sometime before Jeff Keighley's own Summer Game Fest event on June the 8th. So that means it could be soon then. Therefore, well before the Xbox and Bethesda showcase on June the 11th and Ubisoft Forward on June the 12th. He neglected to give PlayStation Showcase a hard date, but indicating it could be unknown. They last did a dedicated state of play in February, which aired the day after PSVR 2's launch to showcase more titles. I'm just reading verbatim your article that you did for Mirror Gaming because it's got all the information on there. But what I'm really interested in is your opinion piece at the bottom that we do. For weeks now, you've been talking about a Series S discounted. It doesn't matter what you're going to play on it. All that stuff. Talking about Game Pass. Where's all these first party exclusives? You talked about in the opinion piece, you said, while I'm all for secretive game development, if it results in some genuine surprises at AAA level, as a dedicated PS5 player, I've been left wondering for too long what I have left to play by way of first-party exclusives. I immensely enjoyed Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok last year, but it's not lost on me that we are treated to fewer and fewer PlayStation exclusives as the years roll on. So it's not just Microsoft then and Xbox that are suffering from this first-party exclusives.
Whoa.
You're
Let's
struggling to know what to play on the PlayStation by the sounds of that.
Right. So first things first. Sometimes I have weeks where I'm like, did I get much done today? And then I go and do the walkthrough every week, and I'm like, okay, Nathan's just reading all my articles, so I must be doing something right. Second, Xbox hasn't had a major exclusive since Forza Horizon 5 release, and that was like a couple years ago. So when in this article, when I'm saying that, like, basically what I'm saying is that it's unusual to know so little about what's coming next in terms of the release calendar, because for the past few years, I think PlayStation have almost shot themselves in the foot a bit, where they announce stuff early, like Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, over a year out from release, and you know it's coming. And then, I think it was a couple years ago that Spider-Man 2, which everybody knew was happening already, they released that teaser trailer at a state of play, and ever since then they're having to feed questions about when is it coming, what's going to be included, to the point now that just a couple of weeks ago we had a voice actor, the guy who's playing Venom, leak a supposed release window of September for that game, which would line up pretty perfectly with Grubb's suggestion that early June might be where PlayStation has its state of play. So in like, I think what I was getting at is like, yeah, I don't know what's coming next, but I've been well served up until this point. Because we've got Final Fantasy 16 coming in June, June 22nd, I think, and then Spider-Man 2 coming. And if that does hit in September, you have to assume that at whatever this PlayStation showcase is, they'll be showing their big first-party November, October window game. Which, I mean, I've got some speculation as to what that could be. I'm definitely thinking we'll see more on the Ghost of Tsushima sequel. But that's all I was saying with that. Like, you know, PlayStation has been getting games out, but this is a widespread issue. AAA games just take so long to make now. And it was a few weeks ago that Jason Schreier even said, like, fun fact, if a game went in development today on a AAA level, it probably would be geared towards PlayStation 6 as opposed to PlayStation 5. So just think about that. We're 3 years into a console's life cycle. Console life cycles tend to last about seven or 8 years, give or take. Yeah. And so Sony knows every PlayStation 5 first-party game that's coming out before the PlayStation 6 releases. Wild. Yeah.
It's mad that we're 3 years into that already. Don't you think? It
Crazy.
Feels like yesterday. It feels like yesterday where people couldn't get a PS5 and, you know, the Xbox Series X was sold out everywhere, and yeah, it just feels like, and you know, like you said, I bought an Xbox Series X and I don't think I've played a first party game on it.
It's because there are none. Really... But apparently we're getting one next month. It's called Redfall.
Yes. And Starfield as well this year.
When is that again? September, I think.
It'd be September. Yeah, September.
Yeah.
Adam's back in the chat. Let's just repackage Skyrim for the PS5. That's not a bad shout, actually.
Surprised they haven't done that already yet, to be honest.
I'm surprised they haven't done it. I think there's been a few like modders sort it on PC and things. But nothing for the PS5. But yeah, it'll be really... Just if you were to hazard a guess at the next first party PS5 exclusive, what do you think it would be? The next one?
So basically, Insomniac are working overtime right now because they released Ratchet and Clank at the beginning of the generation, and they've got Spider-Man 2 coming, and we know that they're working on Marvel's Wolverine as well, which I think was confirmed not to be coming this year. So their next big exclusive should be Spider-Man 2 in September, providing all goes well. And then it's my guess that in October, November, I think Ghost of Tsushima, was that 2019 originally? So it's been about 4 years since Sucker Punch has showed its hand. And obviously that game was well received. We've got the Ghost of Tsushima movie coming out by the John Wick director in a couple years' time. So that's interesting there. So I feel like that is probably what we're going to see at the State of Play. And there's, depending on how far it is along, I mean, it's a sequel to a built-in, you know, they don't have to rebuild the entire assets or like the controls or anything like that. Yeah. So I'd like to think that 4 years is enough for Sucker Punch to get a Ghost of Tsushima sequel out in November time. But I'll probably be proven wrong. Yeah.
And we've got a God of War Amazon series as well, haven't we, to look forward to as well, which will be really interesting. We've looked at who could be cast in that. Tom Holland,
but you know, Tom Holland for everything. But further along than that, I believe it's either filming or it's done filming. A really weird one is a Twisted Metal TV series starring
really?
Anthony Mackie. So yeah, and we haven't seen a proper
Really?
Twisted Metal game since the PS3 days. Yeah.
No, that could be really interesting. But
I mean, you're big into your racing games, Nathan. So I feel like when that comes out, that'd be cool.
Absolutely. So the showcase is going to be happening soon by the look of it. Are you expecting them to show off Spider-Man 2, do you think, in the showcase? What can people expect?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see Spider-Man 2 gameplay as opposed to just in-game cinematics. We're definitely in the window. Because we're in the window. Even if it doesn't come out in September, as Tony Todd suggested, it'll definitely be coming before the end of this year. And, Spider-Man was a great game. Spider-Man Miles Morales was also a great game. But I feel like what people are still similar to the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom situation, except Nintendo refused to let people know what the main hook is for this game, in my opinion. With the Spider-Man 2 sequel, we don't know. It's been heavily implied that co-op will be happening, but it might just be a case that we're switching between Spider-Men. You'll absolutely play as Venom in this game, mark my words. So I feel like the state of play this summer, sometime early June, is PlayStation and Insomniac's chance to really show us what the hook is for Spider-Man 2 compared to the prior two games. Yeah,
that's interesting. So we'll look forward to that in a few weeks' time, potentially. Then this PlayStation
that's great.
showcase.
Nathan, like, how is it April already? Like, you keep saying that you're like, it's not much longer until all this stuff's happening, and I'm like, how? Like, how?
I know. It's gone so quick. Absolutely, but yeah, it's coming. It's coming very soon, very very soon. So we'll get ready for that in a few weeks' time. Before we go on to our next topic, which is that E3 has been cancelled potentially forever, I have managed to find talking about
The Last of Us.
I promise to everyone. Everyone in the comments want to watch this this people just dripping on The Last of Us?
I do.
Yeah,
I definitely do.
Let me
Never mind what Adam and Connor. Connor's put an F in the chat for.
You've gone too quick. I haven't mentioned that yet. I was going to mention it a bit later on, but yeah, I'm just going to share this. Hopefully you can see this. If I go full screen, let me know if you can see this, Aaron, full screen.
Yeah, looks good to me, mate.
So normal cutscene.
Yeah, it's very intense. Joel's not looking
very intense.
Happy.
No.
Oh, he's folding his arms there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
there's been
Ellie's sweating.
There's been some weather happening.
Yeah, that's wild. Wow, look at Joel's arms. It's like very shiny.
It gets worse.
Does it really?
So everyone's slight mist. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Oh, there's Joel.
Wow. Okay. You know what's interesting about this is like Joel and Ellie. They're frequently in water, so I'm like, okay, I know why they might be pulling assets from that sequence of the game.
Yeah.
Marlene should not be leaking. She's never required to leak, except spoiler alert, blood at the end of the game. So
that was a bit of a spoiler, but that's the more some of the more funny. The more funny bugs, and hopefully they've patched that. But yeah, there is a couple of other bugs as well that we've seen.
Do you know the Jordan Peele meme where it's just his face and he's dripping sweat like intensity? I want to see one of Joel or Ellie like done in that style now. It'd be amazing.
I'm sure that has been done somewhere. We'll have to pull it out for next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go on to our main topic. And Connor, you're first. But let's get some Fs in the chat. Pay our respects. E3 has been cancelled for 2023, and it looks like it could be forever as well, based on what has been said following this. So the ESA has confirmed that E3 won't be coming back this year. The last in-person E3 was in 2019, prior to the pandemic. Expectations are high when event organizer Repop said it would be taking over and teaming up with ESA to make the event happen. However, the IGN were the first to report that E3 2023 has been officially cancelled, with no word on whether it would return in 2024. You had this kind of drop-off where it was like PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, they all confirmed they weren't going. Then Ubisoft said, we'll go if all the others do. Then they said they're not going. So at that point, it was like, who's actually going at that point?
Yeah.
Is it actually worth doing? So the ESA came out with a statement to say that although it remains a beloved event and brand, it failed to garner the support to make the 2023 version worthwhile. It goes on to say that there wasn't sustained interest, indicating that many other publishers, in addition to the main 3 platform holders, as you spoke about before, didn't see the benefit in attending. So I think the question that we have to ask really is E3 dead forever? Will it come back? Because I've never been to an E3. Have you been to an E3, Aaron?
Never had the fortune of going to E3, unfortunately. No. But yeah,
but I'm well aware of the prestigious nature of the event, and you've had consoles get announced there, you've had games get announced there, you've had all sorts get announced at E3. There's been loads of special events. It was a great chance for the games media to meet with each other and talk to publishers in person and to get interviews, get exclusive bits here and there. I've heard from other people it was just a great place to be, as someone involved in video games, just a great event to attend and cover overall. But I suppose in this age where, I mean, we watched the Nintendo Direct live and did a YouTube on the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom gameplay, and look how many people watch that on YouTube for free. Well, free, that's a pay people to do, I suppose. But what's the benefit of doing it at E3 rather than just doing a direct on YouTube?
That's the constant battle that I imagine the organisers at the ESA and ReedPop were constantly fighting. Not to mention that they originally entered this agreement a year ago, not aware that most of the world would be about, tightening their belts because we may or may not be entering a recession. I thought it was quite interesting that I believe it was in the gamesindustry.biz article where Christopher Dring interviewed the head of the ESA. As there was excitement at first, but then one of the excuses that he cited was that we can't be seen to be lavish or extravagant in this environment because it sends out the wrong message. So you can't be laying off employees at one of these big publishers. I think EA recently cut 6% of their workforce, only to spend millions of pounds potentially in floor space for a physical event intended to show off your games. And obviously, marketing is important, and E3 at the end of the day ultimately is marketing. Every games event is. But I the pessimist in me says that even before the whole lockdown situation and pandemic thing started, I remember very early, it was a gaming event being called off that really sort of set things in motion to me. That okay, the world's about to change majorly. Even before that, the tides were turning because Nintendo was no longer a mainstay. PlayStation was no really a mainstay. It was really only EA, Ubisoft, and Xbox that had kind of maintained a presence there. And even then, they would separate their shows so it was out the main building. And obviously, it'd gone available to the public in recent years as well for the past couple of E3s. Whereas it wasn't just limited to just press. So I feel like E3 has had this identity crisis for a while now, and it's a shame that it won't come back because I agree with you, Nathan. I do think, if you're someone who gets to be there, it's obviously amazing. And in terms of work opportunities, in order for press outlets like the Mirror Gaming to give you the best hands-on impressions without the bias of the publishers themselves, it has a lot of value there. But ultimately, as the article suggested, I don't think the industry liked the idea of E3, but ultimately the industry didn't want E3, and it's probably dead because it's just not cost effective anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame for journalism, but also the people that want to read about games and critical analysis and people that cover the events as well, because it's so easy for the publishers now. Everything's pre-recorded. All the events are very scripted. All these funny interviews, they're all recorded and all done as premieres on YouTube like it's live, but we know that for a fact it's not. It's all pre-recorded. I think E3 was one of those events where we did get those mistakes on stage, people saying things that maybe shouldn't have said, or announcing things that shouldn't maybe never have announced, or we got funny moments that we wouldn't have normally got. I think it can be too sanitized, that environment, and we need that kind of unsanitized nature of people just announcing stuff, because it puts on that kind of impression, doesn't it? If it's like a pre-recorded video, it's just a little bit too. It's
too controlled,
Yes.
and they control the message.
Yes.
And like to your point of like people make mistakes and stuff. I think it's a reminder to people that beyond the consoles, behind these brands and stuff like that, like people make games, and like the brand, there are human faces that exist behind PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo.
Absolutely.
And like I could list off countless moments that happened at E3. The infamous how you can share your games on PS4, where you get Jack Trenton handing a game. I don't believe it was Jack Trenton; it was someone else actually. Adam Boyce handing a game to Shuhei Yoshida, and that was step 1 and step 2. Xbox obviously shooting itself in the foot with the Xbox One launch. David Solani crying about seeing one of his heroes, Shigeru Miyamoto, on stage was promoting Mario Cross Rabbids. That was an amazing moment. And then Kevin, the fake executive for PlayStation, owning E3. That was really good. I remember. And we're just like, we're not going to get any of those moments anymore.
No.
Not to mention that the fact that because E3 is going away, potentially for good, trying to cover this stuff, and not even trying to cover it, but trying to keep on top of it as a consumer and person interested in games, it's all sprawled out. So Ubisoft have got their thing happening this week, PlayStation got themselves that week, whereas the benefit to E3 was like, okay, across these 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've got PlayStation in the morning, Activision in the afternoon on the Wednesday. Thursday, Xbox is going, Friday, Nintendo. And then you would have Saturday and Sunday for everybody to get hands on and to read up the impressions. It was confined to 1 week. And, especially as someone who covers the industry, it's so annoying constantly having to check times or have I got an invite to this thing just to try and cover it. It makes it so tough and problematic.
What time zone is that publisher in? And all that. Yeah, absolutely. It's also, I think my favorite ever E3 moment was the Keanu Reeves comes on stage moment, which was in 2019, which is the last.
You're breathtaking.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it was the cinematic trailer for Cyberpunk. Then Keanu Reeves just walked on. Everyone was like, I remember the reaction of everyone there.
Nobody saw it coming.
Exactly. Like, you could tell the audience are like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves just turns up. Is he in the game? Hang on a minute.
He turns up at the end of the cinematic. You hear his voice. He's like, wake up something. And then we got a city to burn. And then V. Yeah. Well, the player character.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking. Yeah. Absolutely.
That was the height of the Keanu assance. That was
absolutely. And then there's I don't know this moment, to be honest, but I'm just reading about a moment in the 2004 Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess reveal. Apparently, Shigeru Miyamoto came out with a Master Sword and Hylian shield on.
Oh,
as
yeah.
Well. I'm sure I've seen that as well.
Kevin Butler was who I was thinking of. Do you know the name Kevin Butler, Nathan?
Yeah.
Like the guy who he only does everything, and like the audience were like loving it, and he was interacting with like genuine PlayStation executives.
Yeah.
Like aside from Xbox, I know I give Xbox a tough time at the moment. That's only because I want them to do better. But to my point earlier, Phil Spencer is a good face for Xbox. He plays games, and whenever an Xbox game, on the rare occasion that one releases, he's online playing, earning achievements and stuff. Whereas Jim Ryan, the PlayStation equivalent, he's not a gamer. He's a business guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and like, back during the E3 days, you had Sean Layden, who was the face, and he came out with a big Crash Bandicoot top. There was another moment, that might have been at 2019 as well, where he walks out to the Crash Bandicoot music, opens his thing, and he's got Crash Bandicoot on his T-shirt. Like, it's those communal moments, and you just don't get the same effect with the open digital.
And from a personal point of view, there was potential for us to go this year. I would have really, really enjoyed it. It would have been my first E3 experience. I was really looking forward to just, being around all these people and making contacts and meeting people I've spoke to on email or on the phone or whatever. And I think it's just a shame that we are going away from, we say that as we're doing a remote podcast live on YouTube in separate places, but it is a shame. We have got plans to do the podcast in person because we do believe that we have to have that eventually, just for the connection and the banter, if you will.
The bants.
But it does feel a shame that everything is going that way, that we are kind of losing more. We're losing the connection that we used to have. Just feel like it's going that way a little bit. Bring back E3, I say.
If not E3, like the next closest thing, and people will disagree with me on this, is Gamescom.
Yes.
That is, it doesn't happen in the summer. It's like a nice, easy breezy event. Well,
Cologne,
not easy breezy,
isn't it? Is it Cologne?
So it was in Cologne. I went to Gamescom for the first time last year, and it's far bigger than any E3 or PAX, from what I can tell. It takes over the whole city, and there is like a press section where things go on behind the scenes, but you've also got the public section. So in terms of like an event that is still up and running, and it manages itself quite well, and it brings together, it does attract the big companies. They don't tend to bring the biggest games there, but it's still pretty good offering. I think Gamescom more and more is becoming what E3 was to a lot of people for the longest time. And in terms of like what went wrong, obviously we've outlined the issues already, but the thing that really I think puts the nail in the coffin for me is that ReedPop are the event organizers behind PAX and shows like MCM Comic Con as well. So they seemed like the perfect partner when the ESA were struggling to find someone to, put on this event for them. So if they can't do it, I don't know who can, in the current climate anyway.
It's a shame. We'll have to see. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see if E3 will return in, but it doesn't look like it. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens for 2024. But yeah, big shame. Let's go on to our before I don't want to read that comment because we're also nerds as well. Connor says
the nerds are taking over.
Yeah, Connor says only social contact most E3 nerds had. Yeah, simmer down, Connor. Okay. We're E3 nerds. Me and Aaron, we're proud E3 nerds.
We've never been, but we'd like to think we are.
Never been, but I mean, let's just coin ourselves as E3 nerds. That's fine. We'll go on to our final topic, which is that Nintendo have announced that they're going to repair Joy-Cons for free if they're suffering from drift, even outside of warranty. So they already offered this in some locations. I believe it was the USA. Don't quote me on that because I forgot to put that on my little page here. But Nintendo Switch owners can now go to the Nintendo support page and report that their console has responsiveness syndrome. What a weird thing to call it. Which is basically a Joy-Con drift, which is when your Joy-Cons start either doing movements after you've made them, or doing like movements when you've not wanted to. Doing movements when you've not wanted them, all that kind of stuff. So that normally happens when there's either a fault in the actual Joy-Con, the joystick itself, or whether they've just worn out the sensors or something. So we'll be extending its free drifting repair to the program to the UK, European Economic Area, and Switzerland. Oh, I did actually put it in the doc. This is already in place in the USA and other territories across the globe. Nintendo has clarified that this is the case even if the 24-month manufacturer's warranty period has expired, or if the issue has been caused by regular wear and tear. No matter how long you've had your Nintendo Switch console, you're entitled to a free repair if you're facing drifting issues. It's worth noting that other problems are not included. I think, obviously, this is a good step. I don't think anyone's going to argue that this is a good step. What I would argue, though, is if we're talking about the right to repair movement, if Nintendo would have engaged in right to repair, other companies are very slow to do it, but most companies, like Valve, for example, they've released like the schematics for the Steam Deck so people can like 3D print their own like cases and stuff, and they're releasing like a guide to help you tear the Steam Deck down and replace the different parts and things. And there's laptop companies like Framework that offer like free replacements and stuff and allow you to change different parts out. If Nintendo would have actually embraced right to repair and let people fix their own consoles and offered like replacement like joysticks, not even the Joy-Con, just the actual plastic and the sensor itself, that would have been a far cheaper option, I believe, than this. Than actually, because they've got to make them anyway.
Yeah.
Because they've got to make the consoles. So you just make a few extra sensors, a few thousand extra sensors probably, so people can actually buy the replacements, then they can fix them themselves. But now They're going to get loads of people sending their Nintendo Switches back, getting free repairs. It's going to cost them a fortune. So, right repair all the way, I say.
I agree, but it's just not the company that Nintendo is. Like Nintendo and Valve are like complete opposites in terms of how they approach open source. In that one approach is open
Nintendo aren't
source.
a family company.
Well, they are a family company, but they don't want these families doing all sorts with their Switch. They don't want like their games emulated on other hardware. They don't want. Yeah. They suffered like back during the Nintendo DS days. That thing got jailbroken like no one's business. Yeah. And apparently there's a way to do it with the 3DS. With the 3DS store shutting down recently, people have been sharing guides and stuff. But the difference there is that Nintendo doesn't really have a leg to stand on, because what else are people meant to do? But until the time comes, I have suffered from Joy-Con drift, and I've used this service. It must have been within the 24-hour period. Time
24 months
given. 24 months, sorry.
That would be the shortest warranty.
I'm really enjoying playing Breath of the Wild, but Link won't do what I'm doing. And it was a speedy service. Like, I think it was like within 3 or 4 days, I got my Joy-Cons back from Nintendo UK.
That's quick.
It's really quick. Yeah. But now that they've basically come out and said to everyone, we'll handle it, let us do it. Yeah. Whereas before, I think my personal opinion is that they were already doing this because they didn't want to deal with the hassle otherwise. But now they've had to make it official because their hand's been forced a little bit. But then there's an easy fix to this. It's stop the Joy-Cons from drifting. And for whatever reason, they cannot change. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the inside of a Joy-Con controller, Nathan, but it's so compact in there, and adding anything new or like revising the spec, you can't change the Joy-Con because the whole point of them is that it fits, everything it has to dock. Yeah. So I understand the predicament that they're in. So I think, we're clearly entering the twilight years of the original Nintendo Switch now. So for the last year or two, they probably thought, you know what, screw it. Let's just offer open source to more territories. Not open source, sorry, but, send us your Joy-Cons and we'll repair them. Yeah. So that's what I think is going on here.
Yeah, Adam L's in the chat. If you sell consoles at a loss, why wouldn't you want people to fix their consoles? Yeah, I think that's my point. If you look at the right to repair movement, if you think about if for example they didn't offer this service and they didn't offer this Joy-Con drift replacement and they weren't able to fix it, that's like e-waste. You can't sell. I mean, you could sell it to someone, but it's not very. They're gonna just realize that it's got Joy-Con drift and they're gonna throw it in the bin. Or like if they'd just offered this, even if it was 20-30 quid for replacement joysticks, replacement sensors, it gives people the option. If they want to repair their console, they can repair it, and it's better for the environment. If they fix their own console, they can keep it for longer. They can sell it to someone else. They don't have to put it in the bin. It helps the environment massively. This right to repair movement. So I'm a massive advocate for that.
But if they did do that with the right to repair movement, wouldn't that mean that like third parties would be encouraged to provide their own like alternatives to Nintendo's official like Joy-Con sticks and stuff? And then you've got a whole second party market, which they allow for things like cases and stuff. But I'm not sure if that, that might potentially result in more plastic and resources being put there because you're encouraging third parties to get involved. I don't know.
I mean, the argument is if you bought the console, you can do what you want with it.
I mean, you can. Nintendo's not stopping you. You can do that. Do you know what I mean?
Nintendo can, if they wanted to sue the companies that made the third party things, I mean, that's their prerogative. But I think having the option there for people, they can't control who's gonna, I mean, you can rip apart a Joy-Con now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, you're giving up the right to a repair, to use similar terminology to you, so it might confuse a little bit. But as soon as you do that, I wasn't advocating for right to repair over this warranty thing. Right, I was just advocating for that just to be an option, because there will be people, probably me included, who probably don't have the technical expertise to actually do that themselves. So they need Nintendo's service. So there is 100%. Room for both. The right to repair movement isn't there to like stop people, or it's not there as a negative for people. It's there if it's an option, because it's there to help you fix your own. I mean, these two Xboxes. Hang on, I'm mirrored, so I'm pointing to the wrong thing. These two Xboxes behind me, they're both Circle of Death. They both have the three red circle, red rings. They're gone, dead, whatever. F in the chat, everyone. F's in the chat.
F in the chat, people.
E3 and
But-
Nathan's Xboxes.
But I mean, I'm putting them on display, right? But they're literally useless. So that they could go in the bin, and they've been there. They've been in a loft for like years, but just ignore that.
Yeah.
But they could have been at another home, like being enjoyed by other people, and contribute to e-waste, not being in a landfill. It just just give people the option to repair their stuff.
Can you imagine if the Nintendo Switch was a handheld-only console similar to the Steam Deck, and they released this thing, and drift was as prevalent as it was? Like, thank God that the Joy-Cons come off, and that if push comes to shove, you can buy a spare pair of Joy-Con rather than outright buying your Nintendo Switch. I mean, that is what the Nintendo Switch Lite is, right? And I'll have to admit, I've not heard of too many cases of drift in the Nintendo Switch Lite, but I'm sure it does happen still.
Yeah. Well, Valve are doing it right. They're going to be offering replacement parts for a lot of the components in a Steam Deck. They've offered like a build guide of how to tear it down and stuff. So if you do want to fix it yourself, instead of throwing it away or selling it for parts on eBay or whatever, you can fix it yourself, and it's better for the environment. We need to think about the environment, Aaron.
I'm all about the environment. I'm all about it. I mean, I like my discs, but yeah.
Apple goes on about, we're not including the cables in the box anymore because we want to save the environment. Okay, they want to save a bit of money, but we need to think about the environment properly on this.
And Apple...
JD, go
on, Nathan. Go on.
JD Incinerator in the chat says, "I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch gets a Need for Speed game as a tongue-in-cheek response to Joy-Con drift." Yeah,
you can get your Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is on the Switch. So, but yeah, if there's a dedicated drifting one, that'd be cool.
JD, get on that. Get on the Nintendo store. Get on the Need for Speed vibe on the Nintendo Switch. I'm sure you'll love it.
JD clearly knows that of the Fast and Furious movies, Tokyo Drift is the best one. So it's it's all good. That's the only Joy-Con drift I care about.
Oh, we need to have. I mean, that could be a whole pod, couldn't it? Talking about the best one. I prefer the original one personally.
The original. Wow.
The original.
For me, I think it would go 5 the Tokyo Drift and then probably the original. But yeah.
5.
Five's the one where they're Fast 5 where they're dragging the safe behind them in the streets of Brazil. That was awesome. Oh
dear me. They lost
I've broken Nathan.
They lost me when they like jumped from a plane and then like they landed on the plane or something, or there was there was a submarine in one of them. They put in a submarine or something.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I didn't really. This is a whole separate show, but Fast 9 was awful, and Fast 10 comes out next month, so we'll report back, guys. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll. I don't know how that relates to what we talk about, but no, I think the orange Toyota Supra in the original. Was just favorite of mine, but then the Nissan. Oh, what was the Nissan in Tokyo Drift that Han had? That was also amazing.
Han only drives orange cars.
Yeah.
I mean, you're speaking a different language to me. The only one I know is the Vin Diesel car, which is it the Dodge Charger?
Dodge Challenger, isn't it? Or
Challenger?
Is it Charger? One of them.
Yeah.
It's Dodge something. Lewis says, weren't they in space in the most recent one? No, were they?
I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not they were in space.
That is ridiculous.
But yes, they were. Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Just go back to drag races, man. What are they doing?
Go back to stealing DVD players in 2002. Yes. Go on. That's how this whole franchise started.
That was gritty, though, wasn't it? That was real. That was real. That's what made it so special. JD Incinerator, any reactions about a rumoured Vita 2? Yeah, we spoke about that. About halfway into the show. Yeah.
Go back.
Go back. That was my tape rewind.
Where have you been, JD? Where have you been? You turn up like this now, complaining, but don't talk about stuff. We've already covered it, man. Come on.
I'm pretty sure we covered it pretty early on in the show. I think it was like 25 minutes in. So
it was JD... when we were talking about the Asus Steam Deck competitor. So hopefully that'll help.
Yeah. So go back to that and you can hear our thoughts on that. Yeah. But Aaron, thank you so much for joining me. I'll push you to the absolute limit. You did want to go at 5. I'll push you to 5:10. I really appreciate
That's all right,
that.
Mate. It's
and
all
I
good.
Hope that I haven't ruined anything for you this evening with your plans.
Not at all.
Thank you for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you about all these topics. JD Incinerator says, sorry, no need to be sorry, JD. No need to be sorry. You can watch it. It's all pre-recorded. Not
4 o'clock every Wednesday, JD.
It's a VOD now on our channel. You go back and watch it. But yeah, 4 p.m. every Wednesday. Make sure you tune in so you can hear us talk about it live, and we'll answer questions about it as well. So if you join us next week, just pop some questions in the chat, and we'll respond if we do talk about that rumored Vita 2. Thanks again, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
Thank
you
you
to everyone who's watched, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed watching this video, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and put those bell notifications on so you'll know when we go live next. We're going to go live again probably next Wednesday at 4 p.m. BST as usual with the walkthrough. So join us then for the next walkthrough. But for now, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.